And we are maybe live? Yes, we are. All right. So welcome to the October Stitch and Bitch. My name is Reija and we are on my channel, The Bookfinch. And without further ado, let's get started with introduction, starting with Rachel.
My name is Rachel. My YouTube channel is Colonati. I'm Colonati most places, and I read lots of fantasy and science fiction, and right now, murderous queer romances. That's pretty much it.
Kelsey, you're next.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm the Fancy Hat Lady Reads, mostly here on YouTube, sometimes on TikTok. I'm on Mastodon. My cat is on Instagram. I read mostly fantasy and science fiction. I wear fancy hats.
As
Happy
you
Halloween.
should. Indeed.
It's the October hat.
Indeed, it's October, so it's our Stitch and Witch, I guess.
It's our Stitch and Witch. This is the hat that comes out every year for October.
Di, you're next.
Hi, I'm Diana. You can find me Bookish Di most everywhere, although I haven't really been posting a lot. I'm joined by my resident Black Kitty.
Void boy.
And yeah, I mostly read science fiction, fantasy, and nonfiction.
With that said, we can go in reverse order to talk about the stuff that we are making this month. So Di, do you want to jump back in?
Still working on this wrap. I'm on the second shade of purple. So you can see a little bit of the mosaic. And now I'm just doing a bunch of border stitching. And there'll be more mosaic later on.
Good. I'm also like carefully trying to figure out how to continue this pattern. So I might be a little bit scatterbrained today. Kelsey, how about you?
After I finished my embroidered bee, I've moved on to my second pattern that I bought, which is the bigger one. It's for October. It's the embroidered pumpkin. So I'm this far on my pumpkin. So far, I am really pleased that mine, to my eye, looks better than the photo on the packet. So like that's the goal. Keep it looking better than the photo on the packet. I'm teaching myself embroidery. This is very beginner for me. The bee was the first thing I ever embroidered.
But you're also doing so much progress. Like that's looking really clean.
Yes. Yeah, I always thought I would enjoy embroidery.
Rachel, how about you?
So I am working on the current West Knits, like Stephen West mystery knit along project. So if you are doing that and you do not want spoilers for clues 1 and 2, avert your eyes now because that is my project right now. It's a shawl project, but like I said, it's a mystery knit along. So I don't know what's happening next.
Wait, so how does a mystery knit along work?
You get clues like at a certain interval. So when I do like the Rose City Yarn Crawl mystery knit along, it's like a clue a week. They give you the specifications beforehand, so they'll tell you like at least for Rose City's mystery knit, they'll say like this will use X amount of yards of this weight.
Okay. And they might give you some recommendations on like, should you use semi-solid yarn or variegated or something like that. So it kind of goes with the pattern. But yeah, I mean, it's really just a knitting or whatever pattern that's split up into clues, and you just hope that the instructions are good enough you can make good decisions.
Yeah, you just do your best.
Pretty much.
That sounds fun.
This is the first mystery knit along I've ever done, I think. And it's a bit of going out on a limb for me because Stephen West patterns, he's very creative and artistic and out there, and a lot of his stuff I don't jive with, but I thought it would be fun to do one that is like genuinely would be mysterious and I wouldn't know where it was going to go. So
I am continuing my bookmark embroidery cross stitch thing that I started last time and have not had the time to follow through at all. And I accidentally did a mistake and started cross stitching the flower in mirror image to what the pattern says. And at this point, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So I'm just going to do this one flower as a mirror image, and it will just be more unique, this bookmark that I'm making, because it won't be strictly following the original pattern and instructions. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
it'll be yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
it'll be mine.
A copy of the instructions. You made it yours.
Oh, hey. Sunshine's trying to eat my embroidery thread again.
Good for her. She's getting some fiber.
So going from what we are making today, we can go over what we have been reading. I think we can go in reverse order once again, because I haven't been reading a whole lot. I'm currently in the middle of 2 books. Both of them are sapphic romances. This one is like basically this one is really interesting. It's basically it has a Fae narrator.
Oh yeah, I read that. I told you about that when I read it, right?
I think so. But like this one basically has a Fae narrator who is kind of influencing the plot in like minor ways. But it's not necessarily like linked to the like actual main character. It's kind of like this Puck type narrator. It's kind of like sort of kind of like Sense and Sensibility meets Midsummer Night's Dream kind of. And so far it's been really fun. I'm taking a little bit of a break from it because the slow burn yearning between the 2 female leads is kind of like aggravating me right now, because I just need them to like confront each other and just kiss, and they're refusing to do that because the other one is cursed and they're trying to break the curse. So I'm taking a break to actually read something where they're like where the romance is going somewhere. So I started this one. This is the 3rd one in the Bright Falls trilogy, with the Delilah Green book was the first one, which I really liked. So I'm about 100 pages into this, and so far it's good, but it's probably my least favorite of the trilogy, because the main character in this is my least favorite person in the friend group that was established in the previous books, and it has the fake dating trope. And yeah, so far it's okay. I like read 100 pages in one sitting, so it's like it's doing something. It's entertaining. And then I have been reading a bunch of webtoons. I don't remember if I told in the last live stream I was in that Delicious in Dungeon finished.
Yeah.
I'm still yearning for Delicious in Dungeon. I don't know how I will replace that series in my life. But yeah, I started reading some new webtoons, and
sorry, I love hearing about the webtoons.
So
especially when they're bad.
So you remember how I talked about that one webtoon, Betrayal of Dignity, where the female lead fakes her own death?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so the 2nd season of that webtoon is now ongoing, and basically the main lead, the main male lead, the romantic interest, finds out that she faked her own death and the corpse that's in the grave is like actually like not her.
But the love interest is the husband that she's trying to get away from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bizarre.
I know. And so he finds out and he starts tracking her and finds out where she is, and she's completely like reestablished herself, like living her best life. She's a governess in some different country and under a different name, and her husband shows up at the place and is like determined that you're gonna not only get back together with me, you're gonna beg to get back together with me. And I'm here like, this is a romance. This is I'm supposed to be rooting for this guy.
Sounds like a book talk dark romance derogatory.
Except it's not even that dark. It's just I'm just like, every single time I read a chapter, I'm like, yeah, this is bad. But I can't
not
stop
actually
reading.
read anything that book talk classifies as dark romance, so I could be way off here. My impression is that the definition of dark romance is just that it's a toxic relationship. Is that correct?
I mean, it can go from a toxic relationship, but usually there's like in like the really like dark romance, there's usually something like really vile happening, like really reprehensible stuff that you're not gonna want to root for.
It's like stalking.
Stalking.
And what this guy is doing in your webtoon is not stalking?
I think it's the way it is represented.
Okay.
Because it's visual, and visually it's represented in a way that it feels like we're supposed to sympathize with the plight of this poor man whose wife like faked her own death and left him because he was being an asshole.
It really sounds like a dark romance, because I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of the dark romance synopses I've seen, it's very much like, oh, so you really hate women, don't you?
Yeah, but it's like, it's so weird, and it's written by a woman.
I mean, so are a lot of dark romances.
But I'm just like reading this, and I'm like, every single time the main character, the woman, confronts him that, yeah, I'm never going to get back together with you, and like, I'm living with my best life, I'm so happy. And then he just latches on to something, like, for example, in the previous chapter, he finds out that she is still wearing a locket with their wedding picture in it. So he's like, aha!
Yeah, why is she doing that?
Aha! This is proof that you loved me and you never got over me. It's like, I'm like, maybe she just liked the necklace. I don't know.
Honestly, listening to this is peak. The straights are not okay.
Yeah. I'm not okay reading it, but I still continue.
What would save this story is if she not so fakely murdered him.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I have a feeling that there's gonna be some kind of happily ever after. Ivy. But there's another webtoon. You remember that I started reading High Society, which just recently ended its first season, and that's the story where the Duke basically hires an orphan woman to pretend to be his sister in order to avoid an arranged marriage, so that he could marry off this fake sister, like, to the family that he's supposed to marry the daughter of that family. So he's trying to like basically renege on the agreement between the families by being like, okay, it doesn't matter if I am the person to marry, as long as someone from our family marries like into your family, essentially. And so he started falling in love now to his fake sister. So that's going well. And the first season basically ends up with them dancing, and then the guy from the other family she's supposed to get married to, they finally meet, and she immediately seems to be attracted to him. then the whole scene ends with the like main male character looking all like he has all like that whole dark eyes and that whole like I am not amused, I am not happy, and I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen? You've like published to the whole world that this person is your sister. Of course, everyone is not gonna be on board if you want to fuck her. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, that's what I've been reading.
What I'm hearing from all this is don't read webtoons for healthy relationships.
Yeah, no. I have not found one yet. Except Semantic Error was peak perfection. That was great, and I would highly recommend that to everyone. But that sadly finished its run and is completed. So
I thought you really liked what was it? The Remarried Empress or something as well.
Oh yeah, I like that too. That is ongoing, like at the moment.
Yeah, I still have that one bookmarked. I started.
Yeah, I like, but that is a slow burn. That is a very slow burn. Like but like that one you like. It also suffers from the fact that the ex-husband is very delulu in terms of like thinking that he did nothing wrong, but at least the narrative is acknowledging that. Yeah, he's not right in his mind to think that, like, he's completely delusional if he thinks that he did nothing wrong. Oh, now I remember. I did read the Aesop's Romance now that it's available for free, the whole run. I told you about that how Webtoon had censored it. Like one of the scenes in the webcomic was basically censored to appear less like assault than it was in the original Korean version. So I read the chapters up until it went to season break, because it's now on hiatus now that the first season ended, and it did not get better. Basically, the main male lead accosts his secretary and is like, yeah, I'm not even going to acknowledge our power imbalance because I'm just a nepo baby, so I have no real power and you're actually the smart one, so you get to call all the shots, and we should totally go out. And I'm like, that's not how power dynamics work, my guy. Like, that's and then my favorite line, where I was like rolling my eyes so far back that I felt like I was gonna get a migraine, was basically when he was like, no matter what I'm gonna do to you, I want you to like react as a woman if I'm gonna do things as a man. And I'm like, oh God.
Where did you find these?
I don't know. In this case, I just like the art style, so I started reading it. I'm thinking,
Luke is judging you. Luke is
hey, in my defense, me reading these and talking about these in public serves as a PSA for other people. I'm doing a public service. This is all for charity. But Rachel, you can go next. Those were all of the things that I have been reading.
So I have actually done quite a bit of reading since our last live show. I don't know, I'm still feeling like really into reading for the first time in a long time. Yeah, Joe. So I've read quite a few things, especially like graphic novels and such. I read The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich.
What?
Yeah, you would probably love it, Rhea. It's got fashion, it's got queer people being queer, and also food. Anyway, yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I loved the art style. That's why I wanted to read it. It just looked like it'd be really, really pretty, and then it was just very queer and ridiculous and romantic and lots of floofy dresses and stuff. But what I was like really obsessed with this past month is reading a crap ton of KJ Charles's queer historical romances. I think I read 9.
I mean, you can never go wrong with KJ Charles.
I know, right? So I reread the Magpie Lord trilogy, which I read like 5 years ago. I think it was the first thing I ever read by KJ Charles, and I did not know what I was getting into. A lot of her earlier work, like that series, is I don't want to say like more horror, but they're very dark. There's a pretty high body count, even though it is a romance. And there's definitely like this sub-dom thing in all of her relationships in those books. So when I was very new to reading romance, period, and I picked those books up, I was like, maybe I'm too naive for this. So I reread them and I actually like them a lot better, but I think I prefer her later stuff. I read the Sins and the Cities trilogy. I read Any Old Diamonds and Gilded Cage and something else, which I think was a novella. So yeah, 8 or 9 of her books in the past month, and I'm going on to read some of the more like standalone ones that I hadn't read before. So I don't know, they've just been scratching a particular itch. I think it's also like they're not just romances with happily ever afters, but they're also like really mystery plots, like lots of murder mysteries and stuff like that. So I've just really been in that mood. So not a lot of SFF, but a whole lot of KJ Charles.
Oh,
no.
Sorry, Luke. Look who else is here. Hello. Look at the chunky face.
And I could talk more about the graphic novels and such, but I don't have like a ton to say about them. So, yeah.
Hey, someone is pouncing on the thread again.
Kelsey, you're up next.
Well, maybe I can get Sunshine up next if I lure her. Or maybe I can just grab her.
No, Leia. Don't eat my yarn, Leia.
Grab her up off the floor. Because she's kitty cat. Yeah. We saw
you should
her.
get her a friend. One of the cat rescuers based in Brooklyn that I follow has a tortie, and you could have double torties.
That's daunting to think about. I would love to get her a friend someday. This apartment feels a little small for 2 cats. I feel like if a second cat happens to me, I'm open to it, but I'm not out looking for a second cat right now. But reading wise, so I think she's causing more chaos. I'm sure she wants churu, but it's so close to her lunchtime. I'm not going to give her churu until after her food dispenser gives her lunch.
You monster.
I mean, sounds perfectly reasonable.
I can't remember when we had our live stream last month. Had I already finished To Shape a Dragon's Breath, or was I still reading it?
I think you were still reading it.
I finished it. It was pretty good. I really liked it. No news of a second book yet?
I think it's coming out, but I don't think it's like hit the publisher's catalogs yet.
I'm impatient. I really liked, it's a book that sort of walks a fine line, hitting all of the notes that like you want from a dragon school book, like a dragon book, a fantasy magic school book, all of that. Having the social commentary, but never like getting way too dark so that it stops being fun. Like how I felt at the end of it was like this whole book feels like, you know, that first half of the Poppy War before it gets insanely dark. And like I am just curious where a sequel is going to go. Like, is it going to go there, or is it going to keep trying to walk this really fine line of acknowledging that like horrific things are happening in this world, and that it's relevant, but you know, we're focusing on the protagonist's relationships with the people in her life and stuff. I appreciated that there are 2 potential love interests that could end up in polyamory or not, depending on how it goes, and neither of them represents the oppressor. And I really liked, you know, the range of characters and how they're presented in different lights throughout the story. So very positive on that. Meow. Meow. Just meowing at me. And then back to Goodreads. Okay, so I think I had already started reading Long Live Evil when we spoke last, and I haven't made much progress on this because I ended up taking my Kindle on a trip with me and no print books. And so I ended up reading Kindle books and like forgetting that I had been reading a print book. So what I've read since then is The Fairy Hounds of York by Arden Powell, which I gave 3 stars. It does have like the spooky fae stuff for spooky season that I was looking for. It does have a bittersweet queer romance. It did make me cry. Like, it has a sad ending, even though the characters are like, it's a happy ending in the sense of like, for the sake of the romance, the characters have to be happily together at the end of the book. But like overall, what that means, it felt like a sad ending to me. I just didn't think the writing was that great. And like, it made it hard to get into for the first like half, and it's a short book. So I gave it 3 stars, and it like didn't do anything wrong story-wise. I just felt like I wanted better writing. I wanted the characters to be introduced in a way that, like, especially the protagonist, I felt like I didn't really understand him. Like, I wanted more of something from it, but I couldn't figure out what, and I think it was just writing style.
I can see that. I mean, I associate Arden Powell with like quite light, fluffy, cute storytelling and characters.
And this
like
is not that. This is dark and heavy, and like, it's trying to do creepy fae. I'm not sure it pulls it off quite well enough. The other thing I've noticed is that this one was published in 2020, and like all the Goodreads ratings for their books published before, looking at average Goodreads ratings is not necessarily useful for stuff, but like everything until like 2023 has much lower Goodreads ratings in their backlist, and then like 2023 onwards, their books have really high ratings. I'm wondering if like their craft just improved.
It could be. I think I've definitely read more of their most recent work, so maybe that's some of the difference there as well.
And I'm not, the thing is, like, I'm not a writer, I'm not an editor. So, like, it is hard for me when I feel like the issue is a writing polish thing to pinpoint exactly what it is. I think last month or month before I talked about Mind Touch by MCA Hogarth, which was similarly like exactly story-wise what I wanted it to be, but I felt like the writing wasn't strong enough to pull it off, and I couldn't quite figure out why. I wish I was better at pinpointing exactly what it is that makes a writing style work for me and what makes it feel like unpolished or not quite at that professional quality. Yeah, very hard for me to point down. It's that elusive magic story juice that I've always
magic story juice.
Yeah. And then I was still on my Kindle, and I was like, while I'm here, I'm going to read the second of the Raksura books. That's The Serpent Sea.
Yes!
And, like, I won't pretend that these are objectively great books, but they are, like, super consumable for me.
Okay, Kelsey, tread carefully now. What do you mean they're not super great books?
Rhea, I gave it a higher Goodreads rating than you did. You gave it 3.5. I gave it 4.
Okay, touche. I'm just saying that as a whole, the series is very excellent.
I've read the first 2, okay? And this one in particular, like, I was absolutely on the edge of my seat. I needed to know what was happening next. But, like, the plot of it, they discovered that they are missing a magic MacGuffin, and they go on a quest to find the magic MacGuffin. That is the plot of the book. Like, it's not, this is pretty standard fantasy trope stuff. It doesn't feel like, you know, what happened plot-wise in this book was like opening up grand new avenues of ideas or anything, right? The whole second half of the book is basically like an extended heist, but not of the sort where like the characters, you know, have some grand plan and, oh, surprise, twist, hey, we're super smart. Not that sort of heist, just like, we have no idea what we're doing. Please, let's get out of here alive with the thing sort of heist.
And the whole time you're reading it, like, oh, don't let anything happen to my babies. I have to know what's going to happen.
Exactly. I think that's what makes it such a great book, because nobody knows what they're doing, and you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing either. So it's kind of like very relatable. That, like, yes, I would behave exactly like you would in that situation.
I also think books 1 and 2 both rely pretty heavily on gender reversals of certain tropes that, you know, is sort of couched in all of this elaborate world building about how Raksura society works. But like book 1, how much do I want to spoil book 1?
Well, if people want to read Raksura books,
they should just read them.
They should read them.
So the like villain plot of book 1, like the big bad that is hunting Moon and his new friends down, is like the the evil creature people who like want to use them for eugenics tinged breeding purposes.
Yes.
And
not even eugenics tinged, kind of like full on eugenics.
Yeah. So what you end up getting is like the plot trope that I feel like I've read in a lot of books from like, I don't know, the 90s, the early 2000s, where like usually the villain is like,
Ma'am, not you, Leia.
okay, is holding the female character captive with threat of sexual violence, right? And like, that's not a trope I love. And I still don't love it when you gender flip it. Although I appreciate like that you tried to see what would happen if you gender flip it, you know? And I said in my Goodreads review of The Serpent Sea, like, Moon is not like other consorts. He won't be coddled. He's going to go on adventures and hit malicious queens on the head with a kettle. He's very much that sort of protagonist. And like, yeah, it's a little fun to see that gender flipped. We don't see, you know, those tropes sort of went, they come and go, but I don't know. Like, I enjoy what it's doing. I also don't think it's like great literature, you know?
I'm also thinking that the Raksura books walked so that Witch King could run.
Yes. So like part of my thing with Raksura feeling very light is in comparison to Witch King, sorry. With Witch King, there's just so much more narrative complexity with those two timelines and how they interact with each other and how you learn about the characters by seeing them in these different time periods. And it just feels like story-wise, there's so much more going on. I think both of them have like an equal level of complexity of world building, and the world building is what is so excellently cool about Raksura. Like, the second book has like huge portions of it that take place on an island city built on the back of a captive sea monster. Great.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say. I'm enjoying the series. I'm gonna read the rest of them. It's not.
I mean, one of my favorite things about the whole Raksura series is the like the friendship time. Like, I love Stone. Stone is like my favorite character in the entire series. He's just a grumpy old grandpa, and I love him. But also, there's like in the future books, there's going to like another queen is essentially going to be introduced, who is also excellent, and I love her as well. So I can't wait to like hear your thoughts when you get to the books where she appears.
Can I ask, just because I'm not there yet, I'm on a library holds list for book 3, but after book 3, then do you read the 2 story collections and then books 4 and 5?
Wait. I think so, because then the books like 4 and 5 kind of pick up on like some of the story elements that happen in the short story collections.
Okay. Because that's what I thought, but Goodreads is a little bit unclear.
I remember that my library system, like I had to go like search through, like I had to go through so many hoops to be able to like do the like actual order of reading, because they didn't have they didn't have the short story collections.
Mm. And that's it. That's all of my reading. That's the last thing I finished reading.
All right, then Di.
So I can't remember if I talked about it last time, but I read Where Peace is Lost by Valerie Valdez. This is her standalone. Oh, did I talked about it?
Yeah.
Okay. I read The Mirror Season by Anne-Marie McLemore. It was very good, but also a very heavy book. It deals heavily in sexual assault and the aftermath.
Yeah, that book is heavy.
Yeah, like it's not one I think I would necessarily reread, but it's a book that I'm glad exists because I think it handles a lot of the aftermath and being a survivor with a lot of care and empathy. And I think it's like good that it exists. There are times though where it feels like she's overworking the Snow Queen narrative, or that Anne-Marie McLemore was overworking the Snow Queen narrative, and I felt a little overwrought at times. Like the prose felt a little overwrought. So that's like my one main critique of it. Let's see. I've like been in a weird reading mood. I read Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. I enjoyed it. It did go on a little longer than I thought it would, like, because I was listening to the audiobook and it felt like the pacing was off. I felt it could have ended sooner than it did. I've been rereading the Scholomance series. And I'm still enjoying it. It's still a series that I very much like, which makes me even more annoyed about the Lodestar nonsense. I deeply appreciate Elle being like this very grumpy, angry teenage girl, because I feel like we don't get a lot of that. Like here's the thing. I like Grumpy Sunshine in theory, but part of the reason it doesn't work for me in a lot of romances is the default assumption is like, oh, man grumpy, woman sunshine. And it can verge on like the man being mean for no reason.
Okay, I have been summoned though. Have you read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm going
but it like verges on like the guy just being mean and grumpy for no reason, and the girl almost always being like a manic pixie dream girl. And it's very frustrating. I think that like one of the only head examples I can think of that worked for me was a Lucy Parker romance, because she was like, okay, this is why the guy is grumpy. This is like what he dealt with in his background. Like it's not that he like is mean and hates the heroine. It's just like he has a lot of walls up. And for the female lead character, it was very much like she also has a lot of trauma, and her being like very happy and very cheery is a response to that as well. Anyway, so I really like that Elle is this very angry person, but it's very much like anger coming from being angry at the world for being unjust. There's like a part knowing what happens in the third book where it's very hilarious, because she's like, okay, so why doesn't Orion find this girl hot? Why isn't he also admiring her breasts? And it's like, oh, honey, you're having some bi panic. It's okay, girl. Yeah, so that was really funny this time around. Let's see. I read the Dragon Age short story collection To Winter Nights in preparation for Veilguard dropping on Halloween. And like, it was very much like a short story collection where some of the short stories were better than the others, but like the one that had me very much like gnawing on the bars of my enclosure was this oh god, what was it called? now I have to find that damn short story title. But the idea is like these minor characters, these NPCs from the game, from Dragon Age Inquisition, are coming back to Skyhold, which is like your home base during the game. And they're dealing with a regret demon that is appearing in the rotunda where a character, Solus, had been doing murals. And the reason I was very much like, oh my God, like gnawing on the bars of my enclosure is, okay, so the title of the short story is Callback. So the theme of Veilguard, what the developers have said is, like, the theme of the game is regret. And there's a regret demon who's appearing in a character, in like the place where a certain character hung out, who's appearing in Veilguard. And it's like, okay, so how am I supposed to be normal about this? Like, you have the manifestation of his regret showing up. Anyway, it made me very excited. I mean, even more excited for the game. There's some of your companions in the game who show up in the short stories. So that was fun. And then the last couple of things I've read have been nonfiction. I've just been kind of in a weird mood where it's like my brain is having problems handling new fiction, but I can deal with new nonfiction. So I listened to Unsinkable, which is all about like the Titanic and like why, compared to other shipwrecks, that's captured our imagination. And it was fine. It was a perfectly solid nonfiction book, but like at the end, so this book was published in 2022, and at the end, the author like does this offhand mention of this new Titanic tourism company called
Oh
No.
oh no!
and I'm like, oh no. Because like I went back and checked the publication date, and it was published in 2022, so like a year before the submersible implosion.
Yeah, wow.
We all know how that turned out.
We all know how that turned out.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And that, like, I wish it had been more focused on the shipwreck portion, because the other through line is this guy who like said, oh, I'm gonna like salvage the Titanic, and it like never happened. And it's like, did you really need the, anyway, that kind of drew the book down. And then the other nonfiction book I read recently was this book called Pax Romana by this historian Colin Elliott. And it's about the Antonine plague that hit the Roman Empire in the 2nd century. And like the way a lot of historians talk about it, it's like, oh, this plague ended the Pax Romana and it started the downfall. And the historian's argument is that a lot of the fissures that the plague exposed would have already were already happening. Like there was already kind of these fissures in the Roman Empire, namely that a lot of like Rome feeding its citizens, like its grain imports, were reliant on Egyptian grain. And that the only way the Roman Empire was able to get to where it was using a lot of the Egyptian grain. And Egypt was having like a series of bad harvests. So they were dealing with that and the unrest that the lack of grain caused, and the fact that all of this expansion was causing problems and raising taxes. And it got repetitive at points, but it was very interesting for an era of history I don't know too much about. And then the last thing I read was Gabe Cole-Novoa's new book, The Diablo's Curse. It's a follow-up to, oh God, what was the first book? It's a follow-up to another YA book he wrote. And this one, The Wicked Bargain. And it's following this character, Dami, who at the end of The Wicked Bargain had he was a demonio who became human, and now he's like trying to stay human. And it's very like Indiana Jones-esque, and I enjoyed it, but I thought the end was kind of like, really?
Indiana Jones-esque, but with demons who are actually now human?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, because part of it is like them trying to find a treasure and like going through solving puzzles and tombs and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, sounds like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's better than that.
Except demons, except demons and not aliens.
Wait, was Kingdom of the
it's
Crystal Skull the fourth one that was really
yes,
weird
it's
and
the
had
one with
aliens?
Shia LaBeouf as
Yeah, the fourth one who had the hot communist Kate Blanchett.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
remember,
one.
I remember watching that movie with my family because we had I was young enough. I'd been introduced to all of Indiana Jones recently, and then the fourth movie came out, and we watched that. And we got to the end of it, and my brother and I were both like, "That is the dumbest end to any
Oh,
movie
yeah.
ever."
Yeah.
Seriously, they did that.
I think I watched that one a couple of weeks after it came out because I think it came out after I started working at a movie theater, so I had free tickets. I saw a lot of movies that summer I would not have otherwise because, like, they're like, yeah, we pay you minimum wage, but your perk is you get 2 free tickets to pretty much any movie you want to go to.
Fun.
Yeah, so that's what I've been reading.
Okay, before we go into any media, let's go through the comments. So, hi everyone. So I see Joe is here and Mr. Orosuri is here. And yes, Joe, I indeed do have new hair since the last time you saw me. Okay, let's talk media next. I for one, new anime season started, so I have a lot to cover. So anyone else, like how much media do we have?
I can do pretty quick. I have actually been watching things. So number one, because I'm me, I decided to rewatch all of Time Team, the British archaeology show, from the beginning again. There are like 19 seasons plus the revival, so it's going to take me a while. But I do love my British archaeology shows, so I've been rewatching that. I'm almost done with season 6. I started watching Killing Eve with Paul, so we're watching it pretty slowly. I realize I'm years late to this. Like Killing Eve was such a huge show when it was running. But yeah, we are watching it together, and I'm super enjoying it. I don't know if it continues being so
pretty much I will say pretty much everyone I followed on Tumblr who was watching that show hated the ending.
That is what I've heard, but I think I'm going to super enjoy the first 2 seasons and not worry about the end. But I don't know, it's like it's serial killer and brewing bisexual panic. I don't know.
I think from what I've heard, what they did with the bisexual panic by the end of the series is what kind of soured a lot of the.
I don't know. All I can say is first season is awesome and actually quite hilarious. I mean, I know it's about people getting murdered and it's bad, but still. So I'm really enjoying that, and we'll probably watch the whole series. And I've still been watching Leverage, and last weekend we saw, because I'm watching with my parents, we're almost done with season 3, and we have seen the Rashomon Job episode now.
I love that episode.
We really loved that episode.
The thing to remember with that episode is don't assume Nate is telling the full truth.
I don't. I am so suspicious of Nate as like a character.
Good.
The whole time. And it's so weird to me that he's like, I don't know, like the main character. He's in charge, and I'm like, but I don't think I really trust this guy.
Yes.
So yeah, that's that. Oh, and I watched Heartstopper. Rhea and I watched half of it together. So I'm
then both of us were like, yeah, I can't wait for us to like sync up and watch this. I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna continue and binge.
It's so bingeable. You could just watch the whole first season in a day, and yeah.
I will say the third season of Heartstopper is a lot darker than the first two in terms of like the subject material. So especially if you're coming from a binge of the first two seasons and then you come to the third season, you're suddenly gonna get some whiplash of like, whoa, we're going to emotional waters that were not present in this way in the first two.
Though if you've been paying attention, it's not like coming out of the blue.
Yeah, no, it's like it's been foreshadowed, but it's like
yeah.
there's a lot more emphasis on the emotionally hard-hitting stuff.
Yeah.
In the third season.
So that's my media enjoyment right now. And yes, Jill, are you also a Time Team fan? We need more Time Team fans.
I have not even heard of Time Team. What is Time Team?
So Time Team is a British archaeology show that started in 1994. And basically they go to sites, they have 3 days to dig them and to figure out as much as they can about these sites around Britain. They have some episodes in other countries as well, but it's mainly just around Britain, England, Wales, Scotland, that sort of thing, Northern Ireland. And yeah, you get to see archaeologists actually doing their job, and a lot of the regulars on the show, they're all real archaeologists. This is like real archaeology happening.
Oh, so it's like reality TV, but
reality TV, but it's kind of like the early days of the Great British Baking Show, but with archaeology, and everyone's friends, and they're really, really nerdy, and they bring in experts who like take one glance at a coin and go, oh yeah, that's the emperor, blah, 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 of the Roman Empire. This coin is from this 5-year date range. And it's been here for 2,000 years. Like, how can you tell that by looking at this little lump of clay-covered iron? Like, I don't know. And the pottery. They're like, oh yeah, this little shard of pottery was this big old jug, and it came from like the hills over there. Like, what?
I mean, why not?
Yes, and as Joe pointed out, so Tony Robinson is the presenter. He's the non-archaeologist. And he is an actor, was an actor, whatever. And he narrated a lot of the early Discworld novels. So,
what about Kelsey? Do you have any media you have been enjoying? You're muted.
I finally watched Delicious in Dungeon on Netflix, which we have already talked about,
yes!
great length. So I don't know that it needs further discussion other than to say I finally watched it.
I mean, it is an excellent show, so.
It took me a while to get into it. Like I wasn't hooked until like, I don't know, maybe episode 5 or something. But then once I was hooked, it was easy to just binge the rest of it. And
I will say that the next season, when we are finally getting into the meat of the world building stuff, I have a feeling that the next season is gonna be super epic. I'm still salty that the Hugo voting populace. Actually, no, I'm not salty because it will be eligible next year. So
yeah, this is our year that we hype it up.
Yeah.
It's our job.
Let's continue to bring it up.
And it never made it into the best graphic story category, though, which I know was what you were really.
Except that this year it still has a chance next year because like the final volume came out this year.
Yeah.
In English.
Could you nominate it for best series too? Is that possible?
Not sure. I mean, it has 14 volumes. I'm wondering only about the word count. The word count most likely wouldn't it wouldn't get past the word count.
Probably not.
But you could still nominate it one last time in the best graphic work, and also now that the first season of the anime is out, the first season is eligible in best dramatic presentation, short form and long form, depending on if you nominate the full first season or just like the best episodes.
There Do you feel like there's a standout episode?
I think one of the best episodes is the sort of the in the end tail of the season, not going to spoiler territory, but there's that instigating event that happens when, like, the one they will have to confront Shuro's team and Laios has to come clean about the stuff that they've done, is one of the best episodes because there's a lot of tension between the characters.
Okay.
But I probably will nominate the entire season in best, like, a dramatic presentation long form, and leave out the short form because, like, to be honest, like, I just view it as this whole season rather than like I can't really go into and think about which episodes were really good. So I'm thinking I will just nominate it for best, like, as a full season.
Hi, Andrea. Haven't seen
Hello,
a
hello.
live show chat in a little while.
Yes, do watch Delicious in Dungeon. You will not be disappointed. It is honestly really great world building. Like, it starts out as a humorous gag kind of story, and then by the end of the series, I was actually shocked by like it is some of the best world building in any fantasy story that I've ever read, and also some of the best, like, social commentary on, like, for example, autism.
Yeah.
Even though autism is never mentioned in the series, but like it has a really good autism representation.
Laios.
I need to
Laios and, like, both the Toden siblings are like.
My favorite thing is the English voice actor for Laios was wearing a shirt that's like fighting the war on autism's side.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second because I'm almost finished with my first section of my pumpkin here. There. First section of my pumpkin.
Yay!
Ta-da! And then the other thing that I watched since we spoke last was on an airplane again. So, like, watching things on airplanes is always weird. But on United, they had the animated film Robot Dreams, which was a surprise Oscar nominee because it hadn't been released in the US yet. I think it's a Spanish film. Anyways, I wasn't blown away by it. However, it was a perfect thing to watch on an airplane because it's got no dialogue. So you don't have to worry about hearing dialogue when you're on a loud airplane. So if you fly United, you have a chance to watch Robot Dreams. It's a perfect airplane movie.
I do not fly United. I'm too beholden to Southwest free checked bags.
Meanwhile, I'm just only ever flying Finnair because that's all we have.
The thing about it that is, like, kind of, I think, where the title comes from is that it keeps going into these, like, scenes that turn out to be dream sequences or fantasy sequences later, except you don't know it at the time. It's just like the story is going and you think that what's happening is actually happening until, surprise, that wasn't real.
Is it cool though? Because I usually find the "it was a dream" plot thing to be super annoying.
Yeah, me too.
It's enough of a repeat gag that you get that it's kind of the point that you're seeing these characters imagine how they think things are going to turn out, and then it doesn't happen that way, or imagining what would happen if fill in the blank, and then they decide not to. And it also gives us, like, there's like an extremely weird sort of, Wizard of Oz inspired dance number, if I remember correctly, with sunflowers or something. And so, like, you get some sort of flights of fancy, but like it's sort of vintage New York, but not the real world, because it's anthropomorphic animals and there are robots.
And wait, and no dialogue.
No dialogue.
How does this work?
The story is really, really simple, though. Dog is lonely. Dog sees a TV commercial for Robot Companion, orders Robot Companion. Robot Companion breaks down at the beach, and Dog can't haul him home. And the beach closes for the winter, and the robot has to stay there lying on the beach, broken down all winter.
That sounds sad.
It is. And they're both sad. And
why would you do that to yourself in an airplane? That's like needlessly antagonizing yourself.
And all of the things that happen to both of them after that, until at the end they both have new paths forward. Anyways, I didn't love it. It wasn't a standout for me, but it was on my to watch list, since it, was an animated film nominated for an Oscar that's technically genre, and I was curious about it.
Anything else you watched?
No, that's it, I think.
Okay.
I've been watching figure skating, but I don't want to talk about it.
Before I let Di fly off into no doubt talking about the unanticipated like Veilguard stuff, I'm gonna talk a little bit about like new season of anime started, and there's already a couple of series that I'm hooked. First up is Yakuza's Fiancé. So the one thing that I don't like about the series is that it is set in a high school setting. I think that the characters would need to be aged up. They're like high school seniors, I think. So they're like going towards the legal, like, age of consent, but like it's just like me as a middle-aged person watching high schoolers engage in smut is uncomfortable. So I think in that sense it would make me feel more comfortable as a viewer if they were aged up a little bit, and it would make more sense to the story, because they're these like so the story is that the main female character basically gets sent to a rival Yakuza family's house because of an arranged marriage to their son. So she's kind of supposed to go live with him in order to determine if they're gonna get married or not. And they're both in high school. And that's where the high school setup ends, because the whole thing, they're embroiled in like criminal activity and stuff. So in that sense, it would make more sense if they were like at least college age or something, because just like in terms of like having the story be set against a very mature backdrop, I just kind of find it feasible, like do not find it feasible that these kids are in high school, But then again, they're also like crime syndicate families, like they've been raised in this environment, so okay. But just like in the terms of like how mature the story is, I would think it would make more sense if they were like in university. But that's basically my only gripe. It's like the art style is very much like 90s, like josei manga kind of thing, or even 80s. It's like very retro, the art style. And yeah, I really like it. I like that the main character actually like seems to know her stuff and like is constantly challenging the men, and is not like, she's not the type of heroine who just gets swept away, and is not like a wet blanket, which is unfortunately the case in a lot of like shoujo and josei geared series, is that usually the main characters tend to be kind of wet blankets and just get tossed around by the men. So that's good. The other series that I've started watching is Dandadan, which is basically about these two high schoolers who, like, one of them believes in aliens and one of them believes in like spiritual, like magic and ghosts and stuff, and they're both like thinking that the other is wrong, and they make a bet and try to prove each other wrong, and turns out that they're both right. So now they're being chased by not only aliens but also like spiritual beings, and it goes around like
what did they do to piss them off?
Well, there's let's put it this way: the aliens want to engage in a lot of probing activity.
Oh no!
And yeah, but yeah, and they basically end up, the main female lead ends up like basically awakening her spiritual powers, and the guy gets possessed by a ghost. So in order for the guy to use the like possessed, like the spirit's powers who has possessed him, the woman needs to basically control the spirit so that he doesn't get taken over. So they have to work together in order to defeat the aliens and the spirits. So that's been quite good. And then I started watching Blue Box, which is a sports romance series. And it's about this guy who plays badminton and a girl who is like playing basketball, and they go to the same school, and they're basically like their mothers used to play in the same basketball team, and they end up living together when the girl's mother gets like an overseas work assignment. So the guy's family kind of takes her in. And yeah, it's about navigating like a teenage crush situation and like romantic feelings and whatnot. And it's super wholesome, and the animation is beautiful. What else? Those are basically the ones that I have been watching. Oh, and then there's 365 Days Until Marriage, where there's two people working in a travel agency get word that one of them is gonna one person in the travel agency is gonna be sent on a work assignment to Alaska to set up a new office there, and none of the people want to go, and it turns out that they are basically they're prioritizing people who are not married. So two of the office workers concoct a plan that they are gonna get fake married in order to avoid going to the overseas work assignment. And when they think that it's gonna be like, oh, we just announced that we're gonna be married, and everyone forgets about it. But no, everyone in the company gets excited for them, and they have to actually start planning this marriage, and all of that entails, and it turns into a much bigger thing. And in the meantime, I guess they're supposed to also fall in love. So yeah.
But if they get married and they work for the same company, the company will just say, well, you're married, we'll send both of you.
No. That's not how it works in this story. In this story, they're like, if you're married, you're good. Like the single people, because the single people have no responsibilities or duties to their family, or no long-term plans for all of this. It's the you exactly. Yeah. It's patriarchy all over again. But yeah, so those are the series that I have been watching, and then of course I am very excited about Arcane season 2 starting next month. So I think next week I'm gonna be watching the season 1 in preparation for season 2.
I never finished watching season 1.
Now's your chance.
It's been long enough. I would have to rewatch the whole. I don't know. Maybe I'll just watch the last few episodes that I didn't watch and
No!
see if I remember what's happening.
I'll probably just read the plot summaries on Wikipedia and then dive into.
Joe, what do you mean? What do you mean by this?
Nikki's questioning your taste.
My taste is immaculate. What do you mean? Also, Andrea, are you referring to the plot description of Dandadan? Because yes, I could imagine some of that happening to you. Yes, just on a random Tuesday. Dai, will you go next?
Yeah, so the main two things I've been watching as they've been airing are Agatha All Along on Disney Plus. It's the sequel follow-up series to WandaVision following Agatha Harkness as she's trying to get her power back. And I'm enjoying it a lot more than I have not watched a lot of Marvel stuff in the last few years. I got really burned out and I was really kind of tired on how they were doing their I still haven't watched Loki season 2. Like that's how little I've watched Marvel in the last few years. Just especially for their television stuff, I got I enjoyed Ms. Marvel, I enjoyed Hawkeye, but the whole this is a movie in 7 to 8 part thing approach, I really didn't like that, and that's kind of why I stopped watching a lot of the stuff. And also I heard Secret Invasion was absolute dog shit.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I had the same feeling when I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine.
I'm not watching that.
The thing that I liked about the original Deadpool movies is that they're completely self-contained. And now that they're part of the MCU, you can it's referencing so many of the other properties that I just got tired.
Yeah, so I hadn't really been planning on watching it, and then I saw a lot of people on Tumblr or on Tumblr and Twitter talking about oh, hey, this is really good. And I was thinking, okay, it's written by the same person who did WandaVision, which I think in terms of having an MCU TV series feel like a TV series did the best, because it was treated like a TV series. So I started watching it and I'm really enjoying it. You can tell Catherine Hahn is having the time of her life. Her and Aubrey Plaza's chemistry is ridiculous and off the charts. And the showrunner has confirmed yeah, they're exes. They are toxic exes. And there's, speaking of Heartstopper, Joe Locke is a character and everyone guessed who he is and it's confirmed that's who he is. But they went into his backstory in the most recent episode and it was very gay. There was, on-screen kissing. He had a protect trans kids sign in his bedroom. So I appreciated that. But yeah, it's been fun. There's 3 episodes left. So next week is episode 7, and then 8 and 9 are both airing on the 30th. So I'm enjoying it. It's very fun. Hopefully it sticks the landing. And then the other thing I've been watching is the new season of Great British Bake Off, and I am enjoying it. I really like all the contestants so far. There hasn't been one where it's I don't really like you. I don't really think you should be here. You're kind of holding on by the skin of your teeth and judges favoritism. I haven't gotten to that point yet with any of them. And there's some real characters in there, characters affectionate in there. There's this woman, Nellie, who I think she's Slovakian or Slovenian. And she's a hoot. She is so funny. And I love hearing her commentary and her joking with Allison and Noel. The current youngest Baker, Sumaya, is very sweet. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this season so far. Hopefully it, keeps being something I enjoy. Because like last season, I stopped partway through because I was really frustrated with the judging. And then the other thing I watched recently was, so I don't know if anyone remembers. Do you remember hearing about the Grey's Anatomy writer who got caught lying about her backstory?
No.
All right. So this broke in 2022. So one of the head writers on Grey's, Elizabeth Finch, she like had cancer and she used that for one of the characters. She talked about having to have an abortion because she was going through chemo. She wrote the episode, like the post Me Too Grey's episode, where a character finds out that she's the product of rape, and like, taking her to inpatient. And everyone's like, oh my God, Elizabeth Finch, you've just been through so much. You're so courageous. And it turns out she was lying about pretty much everything. So the way it came out was when she went into inpatient care, she met another woman named Jen who was there because she had been dealing with this horrific abusive situation and like had a dissociative episode and was like seeking help. And they like struck up a friendship, and then like post inpatient, they got married, and Jen started noticing that there was discrepancies in the story because Jen's a nurse, and she's like, you don't have a chemo port scar, you don't have a scar from where, like you said, you only have one kidney, but there's like nothing there. Anyway, so she confronts Elizabeth Finch. Finch denies it, or like it's like, oh, I'll come clean, and then never came clean. So her soon to be, because I think they're still in the process of divorcing, reported it to Shonda Rhimes' production company. And so the docu-series is on Peacock in the States, and it like goes more in depth into it, and like it's dark. It is very dark.
Wow.
That's insane.
It is so like, yeah, it is very deeply fucked up. And like, one thing I appreciate about the docuseries is that it gives a lot of time to the ex-wife and her kids to really talk about like how what happened affected them. So
yeah, I mean, can't even imagine, to be honest. Like, that's some really effed up shit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, mostly I'm just kind of in a media holding pattern until Veilguard drops in a week and a half.
I will say that I started a new save in Baldur's Gate. So I am now playing a Drow sorcerer, and I'm trying to do a nice playthrough, like a good character playthrough, setting up a polythriad with Astarion and Halsin. That is my goal. However, Gale is trying to win me over constantly. He is trying to smooth talk me. I mean,
that's why you've been sending me lots of Gale quotes. Like,
this guy is the worst. I'm running into these quotes. Yes.
Okay, that explains that.
Yeah, I've been like kind of playing some of my current save, which is a monk who's based on one of my D&D characters. Yeah, she's very like just trying her best. She's romancing Shadowheart.
But I can't get into romancing Shadowheart.
Yeah, it's very interesting playing like a lower charisma character.
Oh, I always go for the high charisma.
Yeah, no, Emmy is not a high charisma character. No, my first two characters were a bard and a paladin, so higher charisma. But yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing like, oh, I can't talk my way out of this fight this time.
Yeah, my first playthrough was a bard, like a murder bard, so the School of Swords and charlatan. And now I'm a draconic like a sorcerer, and it's interesting playing as a drow because everyone is super mean to you constantly as you're walking through. Like, the goblins are nice, everyone is treating you well. Like, I didn't have to fight any of them when I went into their camp. They were just like, oh, you're like, you look like our boss lady, so come on in. And then I went there and poisoned the punch, and and then they blamed me for poisoning the punch, and I managed to talk myself out of it. But yeah, I killed like 1/3 of the like the first group of goblins just because I poisoned their like booze.
I have yet to poison their booze.
Yeah, it's it can lead to interesting, especially if you have a low charisma character and you don't have a character who can talk their way out of it. It may instigate you may aggro the entire camp.
I accidentally
By accident.
aggroed the camp this time around because I was doing the whole knock Minthara unconscious so you can recruit her later. But like something happened where like I went to deal with the final boss and I came out and Minthara's body was like in the hallway for some reason, and it like led to the goblins being aggroed. And I was like, no, this shouldn't be happening. You should still like me.
I do notice that the whole camp gets aggroed when you deal with the final of the camp bosses. So there's no way that you cannot continue to not aggro the goblins if you go to kill the hobgoblin leader. Because he when he dies, everyone just hates you.
Okay, I think it was because normally I think I noticed it this time because when I was trying to leave, like to get to the fast travel point, like there were more people around and they're like, ah!
Yeah. My favorite was that one time when I had basically talked my way into the camp, and every single interaction with everyone had been peaceful, and I only killed the like camp leaders and the immediate people that were like with the camp leaders. And then I realized that I need to go back to the goblin camp, and I used the fast travel, and then when I came from the portal, everyone is just like screw you, man, and starts to attack me, and I'm like, no, what did I do? But yeah, also Hades 2 just had a huge patch of new content, so I have been playing a little bit of Hades 2 as well, and I'm going to be probably playing a little after this stream as well. And yeah, it's been nice. There's some more OD content. And Hades 2 Odysseus makes me very happy, especially after listening to the Epic the Musical songs, because like Epic the Musical Odysseus is so honorable, and I would never cheat my wife, and then Odysseus in Hades 2 is like, yeah, I fully cheated on my wife with all of the sirens and goddesses. That is a thing that happened.
I can't play until the full release because I'm a console girly.
When is it actually being released?
Probably next year.
So it's in early access now on PC, and it's probably and the Supergiant Games has said that it's gonna be in early access at least for the duration of 2024. So
yeah, my guess it's gonna be released in the back half of 2025 for consoles.
Yeah, my estimate would be that they're probably going to aim for the second quarter of 2025.
Okay, so you're thinking,
I don't understand,
like second financial quarter, or are you talking like April to June?
Like April to June.
Okay, yeah. See, I'm thinking more like June to September. That's my guess.
I mean, the first Hades got released in like, I think August, September time, so it could be. But it depends on how much of the game they've actually like, because I know that they're still working on like some like areas of the game that are not available in early access.
I will say, so the only other thing I've been really enjoying is sports, which is like I'm the sports enjoyer in this group. I went to a Portland Thorns soccer game last week with a friend, and it was very fun. Christine Sinclair, Light of My Life, has announced her retirement at the end of the season. And so I was like, okay, I really want to go to like a couple more games. So I went with my friend, and Portland hadn't won a game since July. And they were playing the only unbeaten team left. So of course Portland won. It
was that good?
I mean, here's the thing. I like Christine Sinclair. I love her a lot. I don't, as a rule, root for the Portland Thorns. They're not my team. When I see them again in a couple of weeks, I will be rooting for Angel City. So my dad and his girlfriend are coming up to like hang out, but also see the game. So that will be fun. And then right now are the WNBA finals, and they are tense. Game 5 is today, so the final game. And pretty much all the games have been like very, very close. But I'm hoping Minnesota can pull it together and win, because I don't want New York to win, because I don't like Sabrina Ionescu. I don't like the Liberty coach. I find a lot of their fans annoying. Also, I want to bust the super team narrative. Yeah, go Lynx.
And how likely is that to happen?
Here's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, it has been a really close series. Like, it's tied right now. Like, they're playing in Brooklyn. They're playing at the Liberty. So, like, Liberty have home court advantage. But, like, I don't know. Like, anything could happen.
I have finished the second wedge of my pumpkin, and it's still looking better than the picture. So I'm feeling good.
Good.
Yeah.
You're doing excellent.
Thank you.
My thing is slowly. It's starting to look like a thistle, guys.
Yes, it is.
So that's it for media for me.
Wow, we've been doing really well in terms of keeping up with the topics. Jill, yeah, Deadpool versus Wolverine was dreadful, genuinely boring despite everything on screen trying desperately to keep your attention. I had the same feeling in terms of, like, I liked parts of the movie, but I realized afterwards that every single part that I liked was the parts that had been, like, basically cut and made into Instagram and TikTok memes, and I basically could have dealt without the context for all of these things. Like, there were a couple of funny bits, but overall I felt like the movie was overlong and really like overstayed its welcome in many places. And I am starting, like, I feel like Ryan Reynolds has gotten to a point where all of the goodwill that he has built over the years, I'm starting to get over it, and I'm like, his sort of lovable, snarky persona is starting to grate on me.
Oh, I've been over it for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, and poor 50-something-year-old Hugh Jackman having to go through that workout regimen and steroid use in order to show up shirtless for that one scene.
I thought that he had retired playing Wolverine, which is why when the movie
he had.
And this is why I don't like Marvel MCU stuff. It's like it just won't end anything.
Yes.
Yeah, and the one
I feel like Jill has just described like my experience with the last like 3 MCU movies that I tried to watch years ago. Genuinely boring, even though it's trying to do everything possible to entertain.
Yeah, it's like the key jingling, like look.
Yeah, look. It's like there's no character development, there's no real storyline in a lot of it. It's very repetitive, and my god, they destroy so many buildings, and it's like this is an hour of fight scenes that could have been cut.
Yeah, and the thing is, especially with like a lot of the Marvel movies, is that sometimes there's excellent character development in the movie or in the movies, that then gets overhauled by the next director. I think the main thing about, like, if you look at Thor 1, Thor 2, and Thor 3, like Ragnarok, that is a really good character arc for Loki and Thor in those movies, and then Avengers, obviously. But like, that is a good character through line where each of the directors kind of looked at the previous movies and was like, okay, here's how we're gonna do it. And Thor Ragnarok kind of encapsulated that character arc between Loki and Thor. And then the subsequent movies, like the Avengers movies, completely ruined it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I liked Loki season 1 and Loki season 2 as well. But essentially, like, Loki's whole narrative arc between the first Thor movie and Avengers, between the first Avengers and like Loki's whole narrative arc before Loki season 1 is completely stripped out. Like, it's like that did not happen.
What is even the point of spending years telling the story only to just completely erase it with the next production? It's just like, why?
Yeah, but I think that is what's causing people to have the fatigue as well.
Yeah. Like, as much as I haven't seen Guardians 3 because I deeply hated Guardians 2, like, I do respect that James Gunn, like, had control over, like, those movies and, like, told the story he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
But also, I deeply hated Guardians 2.
I actually quite liked Guardians 2. However, I think I liked it in spite of what it was. And I think part of like, do I like this movie because it's a good movie, or do I like this movie because I like Kurt Russell?
Yeah. I think my problem with Guardians 2 was I think Dave Bautista is a good actor. I just don't like Drax and how he's written, and I hated his interactions with Mantis a lot.
Oh yeah, uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think, like, the thing I liked most about Guardians 2 was the Nebula and Gamora stuff, but that's, like, kind of how I feel about a lot of the stuff with Nebula. It's like, no, I want more her. I want more of her.
Yeah.
I disliked Guardians 1 and never watched Guardians.
Guardians 1 was fine.
Guardians 1 was good.
Guardians 2 I didn't like. I've heard, like, I know people like Guardians 3, and maybe one day I'll get drunk and watch it, but
the thing is also, like, I think Guardians 1 was like that was back then. There was no Marvel fatigue yet, because they were still establishing stuff, so the movies were still working.
Long ago, though.
It's like 15 years ago almost.
No, Guardians 1 was in the 2010s. Was it?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, 10 years ago. Okay, 10 years ago.
Oh my god.
But still 10 years ago. It's a decade.
Yeah, it's because for a long time they were doing like 5 to 6 movies. That's what it felt like. Like, this year, the only one we're getting is Wolverine and Deadpool, which
I mean, I saw it, and it was something.
Yeah. Next year we're getting the new Captain America movie, which I am not watching.
When are we getting Marvels?
Wait, what?
Marvels is already out.
Is it?
Yeah, it came out last year. It's already on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay. I'm not even sure if it got a cinematic release here.
The reason I'm not watching it is there's a character in there, Sabra, who is an Israeli Zionist character, and BDS has asked that everyone boycott the movie. And Marvel, like, instead of, like, there was outcry because, like, she was cast before the genocide in Gaza started, and people were like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point of having this character? Like, there was outcry over it, and then the genocide started, and there was more outcry over it.
I mean, let's put it this way: the genocide escalated. It has been going on since 1948 and prior to that.
The escalation.
The escalation of the genocide that is currently happening.
And reports have said they've just like completely like gutted any mention of Israel in this character's like comic backstory. It's like, okay, but at that point you could have just recast the actress if she's just going to be like a retired Black Widow.
I mean, and also you could have just like completely chosen another like character. Yeah, I think Deadpool versus Wolverine completely undermines Logan as a movie, and Logan was a good movie and actually stood well on its own. And Deadpool versus Wolverine is literally, and I mean literally, pissing on Logan's grave, and undermining that whole movie's existence. Yeah.
Anyway, I am looking forward to Thunderbolts next year because I actually really like Florence Pugh's Yelena, and I don't know, it looks fun. I don't have like high hopes for quality, but it looks fun.
Question: when is Dune 3 coming out? Like Dune Messiah? Is it like it's not coming?
I think they're like starting filming in 2026.
Because I already thought
that was like officially gonna happen yet.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Dune Messiah.
Because initially the director was like, I might take a break from Dune for a little while. I was like, oh no, it's gonna be like years and years. So
yeah, they confirmed in April that development on Dune 3 was underway, but there's not been like there's no like dates on when it's gonna be out. But let's see. I am honestly tired of the whole Marvel thing. I would hope for more original stuff. One thing that I really want to see, and I'm trying to get my hands on this series, because like in the US it's in Netflix now, but in Finland no, and that's the Interview with the Vampire series.
I need to watch that.
And I'm obsessed. I need to see it because I hear like rave reviews, and they seem to be like really respecting the source material while at the same time making it more diverse and like for example, I rather like the fact that they brought it into like the 1910s and 1920s where the story starts, and that Louis, instead of being a slave owner, is a black man. Mm-hmm. And that actually kind of plays with the dynamic of Lestat and Louis even more, and kind of like explores the toxicity of that dynamic a bit more. So yeah, and also like Armand is basically a Roma character in the new series. So, but in Finland it is exceedingly hard to find where to watch it because it's like, this is not available in your area, and I'm like,
I think it is time, because Sunshine has been trying so hard to eat my embroidery thread, to give her her churu.
Did she have lunch?
She did have lunch. She had lunch at the top of the hour.
So, I know you can't really see him, but in that chair over there.
I assume the black void is the cat?
Yes.
Okay.
He has been present this entire time. You have just not been able to view him.
You gonna come up, Luke?
But yeah, that has been fun. Oh, Sunshine!
Hi, buddy.
I like that Sunshine looks like a raptor a little bit. It's her face markings and the way that her chin is a different color than her. Leia looks so disgruntled.
She always
She's glaring at you.
She's just like, what are you doing?
But see, she lets me pet her belly. So everything.
Aw. We are coming on 1 hour and 45 minutes. Do we want to start wrapping up in terms of like what we are excited about coming up in the next month or so?
Dragon Age Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard.
I will have you know that I pre-ordered Dragon Age Veilguard, and yeah, I may also join you on the joyride of trying to figure out what the hell is happening. I'm scared. I looked at all of the trailers and I'm like, there is no way in hell that I'm gonna be able to successfully play this game. I'm gonna be so dead.
Yeah, well, they do have like a storyteller mode, which is like the super easy mode.
Well, yes, but I don't play the storyteller mode. I just complain about how I suck at gaming, and then I still play the harder modes.
Yeah. So I can't remember if I told you about this last time. So I pre-ordered Veilguard. I took the time. I took a 5-day weekend to play it because I'm like, oh, like I don't think I'll finish it, but I want to see how far I can get like over these 5 days, all excited. And then I was talking with someone and she was like, oh, are you going to be here these days? I'm like, you know what? I forgot. Like after the 31st is November 1st. And I forgot that November 1st is the day of the Portland Thorns game my dad and his girlfriend are coming up for.
So you're not gonna be playing Veilguard on that day?
No, I mean, because I'm going up from like Friday to Sunday to Portland. But I still have the Monday, like the Thursday and Monday off, so I'll still be able to play. But this is the second time that this exact type of thing has happened where I am all excited about a video game that's coming out. I book the time off, and then I remember my dad and his girlfriend are coming up to watch sports. Because this happened
on purpose.
This happened with me when Horizon Forbidden West came out.
Oh, I remember you were not too like you were a little salty about that as well. I remember.
I just like it's that meme. It's like if I had a nickel every time this happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that it's happened twice.
It's gonna be even stranger when it happens a 3rd time.
Oh, I know.
Then you know that this is just fate.
It's gonna happen when the 3rd Jedi game comes out or the Horizon sequel comes out.
Oh yeah, Horizon is gonna have another sequel. It's gonna be interesting without the Lance.
Without Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already sad.
I'm really sad. Whatever happens, I sincerely hope that there's not gonna be any AI shenanigans relating to that.
I don't think there will. I think if they're going to keep him in, they'll probably recast him. And I think the best case scenario is like Keith David as the recast.
Yeah, I hope that they would go that route because that would be the ethical thing to do. But at the state at which we're going with the whole AI debacle, I'm constantly like kind of fretting when like gaming studios are gonna go through that route.
Yeah, so he was voicing a character in the Legend of Vox Machina season 3, and the voice and the Critical Role cast was like, he recorded his dialogue before he died. Like, this is not AI. He did this before he died.
Yeah. The another thing that I showed this to Rachel because I saw that now in like new books that are starting to be published, there is like in their like front page of like where there are the copyrights and stuff, they have started to include the text that none of this is like you cannot use any of the materials in this book for the training of generative AI and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we are in the process that this is gonna be like mandatory thing that needs to be happening.
Is it enforceable though? Like they can put it there.
My guess is they're gonna, because Penguin Random House is one of the ones who's doing it. They're gonna wait for a big book, and they're gonna go. And if it like something shows up, they're gonna go after it.
That's what I feel like. It's not gonna have teeth until it gets fought out in the courts or something.
So the thing is that technically copyright law already, like the existing copyright laws already like have like you can use existing copyright law to fight against AI. However, there needs to be a precedent, and a precedent was already established this year with like the class action lawsuit where a bunch of artists were basically like suing OpenAI and the Midjourney to fight against using their visual arts like as training materials, and they were like saying that they need to be compensated. And that case already they got like a major win from that case. So there's already starting to be precedent that these cases are winnable.
I hope we get more good news. Yeah.
I mean, me too. So, I mean, working in the IT industry, the whole AI bubble is a thing, and I keep saying this because I want people to remember that I said it years ago when this bubble bursts, because it's like the .com thing all over again. People are getting excited over this new fangled thing, and it's just a bubble.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been interesting working in higher ed because, like, you have a lot of people who are like, I am vehemently against this for various reasons, but then you have other classes that are like, then you have our university being like, we are exclusively using Microsoft Copilot. We're building a supercomputer so people can like invest in AI. And it's like,
no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm just also thinking about the physical cost of AI, because it's not just like intellectual property cost, but it's the cost of resources, like how much water it takes to cool down all of these server farms, how much electricity it uses. Like it is completely like training AI takes more resources than running like simple like basic server farms for like other services, because it's like it utilizes so much more resources and it's so much more energy intensive. So I like it is like quite unethical in the like, especially in the current like climate change hellscape that we're living in, to fund these kinds of technologies without any thought to how these technologies could be made more sustainable, or if they even can be made more sustainable. But people are so quick to want to make big bucks fast and line the pockets of shareholders that they are not considering the human and the natural cost of this technology and how it's going to fuck us over in the long run. So, yay!
I refuse to touch it, and like everybody that I know who's like using, AI things to stay popular, like, oh, why didn't you do something? I turn it off. I can opt out. I do.
Yeah.
I don't need that in my life, and neither do you.
Well, and it's also particularly frustrating that a lot of the database vendors that we're working with are like, oh, we're doing a research AI assistant. And it's like, the problem with it is that, it's not using like the ChatGPT model that's like scraping the web and everything, like you're using your own sources, but you're still running into the same issues where it's not like really thinking. It's not like giving the people using the databases like what they need. And especially for inexperienced users, it's going to be a clusterfuck.
What I think it's not actually artificial intelligence. It's not
It is not. It is not.
intelligent.
And another thing is that it is not even truly generative.
Yeah.
Because it is iterative. It is generative would be that it looks at all of the sources and then actually creates something new that is like that uses the prompts from the sources. That would be true generative AI. Iterative AI is where it looks at the sources and basically copies the best variable or the best next variable from a prompt. Yeah. So it like creates an iterative version on like, and that's how we get these horrible monstrosities that we see. But it's like it cannot think for itself, and it's not truly generative. Mm-hmm. And also, especially now, it's already cannibalizing content. So AI is teaching itself with AI, like generated material, because it's running out of human-made material that can be used as training material. So. Yeah. It's going to get even more inaccurate as
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And I think the other thing is frustrating is that there are places where like AI or machine learning can be useful. Like with the recent Hurricane Milton, the meteorologists were using like custom built AI models to figure out, where is the storm going to land? And they got it within 12 miles, which is ridiculously accurate for storm modeling.
There is like,
why would you really call that AI? It's just crunching the numbers. It's just analysis. You're building a model. That's not, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as with like, for example, genome and like DNA sequencing and stuff, and in medicinal, like pharmaceutical work and stuff, they are also using these like AI models, and it's very good for that kind of work. But in creative pursuits, no.
Hi, baby.
Anyway, that's the monthly AI rant, I guess. Expect us to rant more in the upcoming months until this goes away. I think next month, are we gonna be on Kelsey or Dice channel?
We're on Kelsey. I'm on every 4th month. Okay. So in December.
I'm a little because I wasn't here last month, so I'm like, what is happening? So next month we're gonna be on Kelsey's channel. We will let you know about the date once we have that figured out.
On holiday season.
Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. So
more progress on my pumpkin.
Your pumpkin is looking really good. Why is it white?
Because they didn't give me orange thread for it. They gave me white thread for it.
They're pumpkins, but they're like different colored pumpkins. Like
it's a mini pumpkin, like one of those white mini pumpkins.
Oh, okay. So you get like all of the thread and stuff in it as well.
Yeah, it comes like this.
Okay.
It tells you what thread to use on which part of it on the pattern.
Okay. See, I've usually bought like, for example, patterns from Etsy that only gives you the pattern, and then you're supposed to figure out how you actually do it gives you only the pattern that you're gonna trace to the canvas, and then it gives you like the instructions of which stitches to use for which portions.
But it doesn't give you the thread.
Yeah.
Is a girly pie? Come here, girly pie. Coming?
Sunshine. So with that, I will bid all of you adieu. Does anyone want to go over with Brain, please? Anyone have any final hurrahs to share? Rachel, you first.
Not really. I can't wait to watch more Killing Eve.
That is good. Kelsey?
I looked at Goodreads to see if there are new releases I'm excited for next month, and there are not. So, I hope you all love my cat. And
follow her on Instagram at the Fancy Cat Lady Reads.
Fancy Cat Lady Reads on Instagram. And I will look forward to next month.
Di?
The Wheel of the Infinite re-release is happening next month, so I've pre-ordered that. Basically, I'm just like, everything's gonna go on pause once Veilguard hits. Like,
yeah, I imagine so.
That will be the main topic of next.
The main topic of next month is gonna be Veilguard. For me, Epic the Musical's Vengeance Saga is coming out on the same day as Dragon Age Veilguard, so I have two things to look forward to.
Well, so I'm gonna be so interested, like when we talk next month, about like who our romances are, because I feel like you and I both have like a very different romance.
Remember a game where you get to romance people?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Dragon Age is a dating
simulator. A dating simulator, same as Baldur's Gate. It's a dating simulator with extra steps.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So Rachel is like, here we go again.
Like,
I mean, I'm gonna enjoy hearing about this.
Sure, I'm romancing Tash first because I always play a dwarf first if I can, and I'm a sucker for ridiculous height differences. And also like Tash can get it, but like I've seen stuff with Neve, and I'm like, you know what? I'm also tempted by Neve and Harding. I've been wanting a dwarf romance for so long, and we're finally.
I'm kind of considering Harding, but then again, I'm not even sure yet if I'm going to be doing like male, female, or androgynous. Like,
well, they do have non-binary options this time around.
Yeah, this time around, yeah. Like all the previous times, I've had to play a male character.
Like this shitstorm that popped up because you can do top surgery scars. Like people were being sick.
Yes, I saw it was.
It was awful.
Like people got to
feel like we
fully
discussed
in their
this
feelings.
last month.
Like I only heard about it like I think 2 weeks ago because I haven't kept up with the. With the like shit show that is gaming discourse, but yeah, I heard about this and I was just like, why can't people like you don't have to use that option. If you don't like it, don't use it. It's the same people who complain about, oh my god, there's black hairstyles in my game.
It's so funny. Like, people are like, BioWare's woke now. It's like,
have you played any of their games in the last like 20 years? Anyway, Veilguard content coming next month. And
did anyone see where I put my scissors?
No.
Darn.
Maybe I did not see.
Am I sitting on them?
The cat stole them.
Hopefully not, because they're sharp.
I was, in fact, sitting on them.
Come on, Leah, come say bye.
With that, I bid everyone adieu. Let's see each other next month on Kelsey's channel. We're gonna talk about Veilguard. I'm probably gonna gush about the epic showdown between Poseidon and Odysseus in Vengeance Saga. And yeah, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh no, Rhea!
Oh no, did Rhea?
Gone.
Rhea did the thing.
Oh no!
Hold on.